This episode of After Dark is brought to you with limited commercial interruption by Netflix. For a free 30-day trial, head on over to netflix.com/GamebreakerTV.
Gamebreaker TV.
Hello, everybody. It is April 2nd, and since I didn't get to celebrate April Fool's Day, I'm holding it now. That's the end of our show. Talk to you later. Bye. I'm kidding. I didn't have any joke planned, so that's the best I could do.
That's probably the best After Dark we've done.
It's probably the best. I mean, there was no, cut out all the fat and just get straight to the facts and brass tacks.
Just get to the part of the show that people like when it's over.
Oh, that makes me feel sad now. Joining me as always, the one, the only, Mr. Josh Allen.
Hey.
Hey.
How you doing?
Good. How's Horde doing? Still alive? Aww. No, I'm losing my only other host. No. I'll have to do it by myself.
More like Horidon. Can understand the slight change in discussion.
Well, guys, it has been a absolute crazy week off. A lot of stuff went on at GDC where both Gary and I were in attendance. So I apologize for the week off, but we are here and clearly with some time to spare because we only got 5 callers. We disappeared. We only got 5. So let's jump in and just get you guys on the line. Maybe we'll sit down and chat for a little bit longer. Maybe you guys can give your own thoughts and opinions. I might be opening a can of worms by saying that. We'll find out. Caller, you're on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're from. Tell us your question. And tell me you hate cheesecake.
Hey, Mike. It's Rich from Breckenridge. How you doing?
Stop calling.
Stop calling?
Wow. Called 1 second ago, you were like, oh, we've only got 5 callers. And now you're like, please stop calling. I hate it when people ask me questions.
If I'm not mistaken, though, I'm really happy that you called. Didn't I just see you in chat earlier being like, no, I'm going to let other people call?
No, that's not me. My name in chat is Hoigwai.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I apologize. I'm still very happy you call. I just...
And actually, I was going to give you some love and say, I forgive you for not liking cheesecake because food is a very subjective thing. So
yeah, internet. Go. Yeah, stop hashtagging Team Cheesecake, but keep hashtagging Team Shaftnet.
But then you were a dick, so screw you, Mike Shaftnet. Cheesecake's the best.
There you go.
Darn it.
So,
all right.
So eat it.
What do you got for us this week?
All right, so with all the info we got in the last week with Wildstar, what are you most hoping to see that we didn't see? Like, there's a nugget of something that you wanted to see that we didn't see. And my other half of that would be, what mistake are you most hoping they dodge? What bullet are you hoping that they absolutely dodge that bullet that other games have made you insane about? Because they seem to be doing so well.
Go ahead, Josh.
Well, just in terms of stuff that we haven't seen yet, I don't know. I'm always kind of, until I've gotten hands-on time with the game, I'm always kind of iffy on the stuff that they don't have, because we know they've got like rating, we know they've got PvP. From the combat that I've seen so far, the combat looks pretty good. So at the moment there isn't really a feature that I would say, well, this is heavily, like they've even got player housing. Like there isn't a feature that's something that I would say is extremely missing from Wildstar from what we know just yet. Until, like, I'm sure once I can actually get some hands-on time with the game and actually spend a whole bunch of time with it, at that point I'll be like, oh, this game could really use something like this. But it's hard for me to, and this goes for any game really, it's hard for me to sit down and say, this game desperately needs that when the game isn't out yet and I haven't had a chance to play it. But to the second part of your question, bullets that I'm hoping they dodge, they have confirmed that, and I don't think this was actually new in the past week, I think this was before that, but they have confirmed that there will be 40-man raiding in Wildstar. 40 people.
Ooh.
Yeah, and that's something that I'm going, okay, if they can make it happen, then awesome. But I am a little bit concerned because...
But let's be honest, did World of Warcraft ever really make it happen, besides for some of the top, like, most organized and strict people?
Here's the thing. With 40-man, 40-man raiding was at its best, I think, during Molten Core and Blackwing Lair. When they started to get into the more difficult content is when 40-man raiding started to have problems in World of Warcraft, because when you need that many people, the more complicated mechanics, the more difficult encounters, that just sort of compounds the issues. The same problem that 25-mans have been having since then, especially since 10s and 25s are kind of the same thing now. It's something that we've started to see people going, okay, well, when I have to bring extra people, it's a lot harder to actually do these fights because I have all these extra people in there. So to me, the question is going to be, if Wildstar has 40-man raiding, how important is it going to be that every single person do the fight properly? In fights like, Golemag or something in Molten Core, or even Ragnaros for that matter, where one person dying doesn't mean you're screwed, then 40-man raiding was fine. In something where we got into like Naxxramas, where one person dying meant you wiped, that was when you started to have issues, because when you've got 40 people, somebody will screw up on something every single attempt. That happens in 10-mans, it happens in 25-mans, it happens even more when you've got 40 people. Somebody's going to screw something up. And you can get mad at them all you want, but it's still just going to keep happening. So if the fights on the 40-man level of raiding are extremely tightly tuned to where one person dying means that's it, game over, I don't know how I feel about that. That's something that, again, haven't had hands-on time with the game just yet, so won't pass final judgment. But that is a bullet that I'm hoping they dodge in that respect.
Now, I was extremely wrapped up in GDC and WonderCon this past week, so I'm actually unaware of what got announced this last week. What did they come out and tell us here recently?
Player housing was a huge thing, really detailed, really deep, tons to do in it. Probably the only housing that even comes close would be Rift.
That was actually
what you can do.
But that didn't come out in the last week. I actually remember seeing the video that I think Hanel put together, if I'm not mistaken.
I think
that was PAX.
Yeah, there was.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was at PAX this last week, and they ended up going into a little bit more detail with the player housing, I think, and talking a little bit more about I haven't had time yet because I was out of town over the weekend. I haven't had time yet to go over absolutely everything that they announced surrounding Wildstar. Which is kind of funny because I was actually hanging out with Chris Hanel this past weekend, and it didn't occur to me that then I could, because I try not to ask him questions about that sort of stuff because he can't answer them anyway. But it just never occurred to me to be like, oh, Wildstar did all this stuff. Let's talk about the stuff that we can talk about now. So that, in retrospect, maybe I should have thought of that one. But yeah, no, it's something that I'm very, very much looking forward to the game. And personally, when I'm very much looking forward to a game, I have to kind of limit how much of the information I really look into, because then I will just be completely absorbed by Wildstar, and that will be my life. Same thing happened with World of Warcraft, where before World of Warcraft came out, I was just spending all day, like every day, I would load up the World of Warcraft website in the time between, before I got into beta. I would every day load up the World of Warcraft website and hope that they were announcing some new stress test or something. Just randomly, I would load up the website. I kind of don't want to get back into that phase again because I have important things to do with my time otherwise. So that's why I've been, I guess, not as urgently looking into the information from Wildstar this last weekend.
Here's what I gotta say.
I'm excited for that game. It looks really good.
Here's what I gotta say about player housing for me is I identify with player housing in a form of bragging. I don't think that I don't think necessarily that Rift's approach with player housing was the best route, because you kind of had to go into central zones. To me, I think some of the best player housing, the only time where I ever really felt compelled to spend a lot of gold trying to auction off and win bids for houses was in the game that I keep referencing that everybody kind of makes fun of me for, but Tibia. And I feel like that did player housing so well because it had cities and all of the really cool people who could kill a lot of the major, like, awesome bad monsters wanted the houses that were on, like, the main street that had, like, balconies so that people walking by could see the trophies that they could put out on their balconies and whatnot. And that's what I did like from what I saw with the Wildstar video, was that it seemed like you would be getting kind of items to represent the accolades that you were able to achieve. I think it's just going to be important on how they make it so that you can make it so that everybody else can kind of see that. Because that, to me, the draw of player housing is just another player housing. Honestly, is just another level of gear. It's another level of prestige to say, hey, look, I did that. And my house that gets to stand out in the open world and have people walk by it get to see that and know that. That's where I think the real entertainment of that comes.
Yeah, in Wildstar they do have the floating houses that you can get, where it's like, oh, well, all the houses are just sort of floating around now, and there's that you have a plot of land, but it's a plot of land that's levitating up in the air, and it looked like you were able to see other people's houses from there. I don't know how much it's going to go into being able to choose exactly where your house is, because I did like that sort of community. Star Wars Galaxies was sort of the same way, where your house was in a city somewhere. You had to like get a permit to put the house down inside of the city, and you could be a hermit out in the middle of nowhere if you really wanted to. But everybody wanted their house in the cities because that's where everybody was. And that was really, really cool. The player-run cities in Star Wars Galaxies was what kept people playing that game for so long. So, like, even after everything else went down, it was sort of, okay, well, NGE came out, and everybody's really upset with how the game is playing now, but I really love this community that I built up. So I do really hope that Wildstar is able to do something like that with their player housing, where they're able to build those communities around everything.
And I mean, I remember even a sense of community. Like, I remember I'd be up till 4 or 5 in the morning, because that's when the auction on my house ended, because it wasn't exactly like Star Wars Galaxies. The cities were pre-built, and they had different flats and areas in the city that you could rent. And when the good ones became open, obviously you'd have everybody sitting there when the auction was over, dumping all of their gold into it to try and get it. That was fun. It was kind of like a little game and a little bit of a gamble. And it sucked when you didn't end up getting the house in the long run because someone had more gold than you. But I don't know, like, it was fun. And then, like, it had the whole element that you had rent due every month, or if you didn't pay rent, you got evicted from the house. Like, I liked that dynamic of how they made player housing, and I've always wanted to see that ever since. And it'd be awesome if Wildstar can do it. I don't know the details, but I did see, like I said, I liked how you could kind of outfit your house based on the things that you've done.
Yeah,
well, it's
from
not
what
just that too.
Oh, go ahead.
You can also, the impressions that you get from Dev Speak, the one video they did that was really kind of just, we're going to lay it down kind of straight, and the other ones that they had kind of teased with. Well, first of all, you can open up your house to a list of friends if you want, or you can make it entirely public. Basically, anyone in your guild could come, or you could just make it flat out anybody in the game can come into your plot. And then obviously another level of securities, you could change who can get into your house, that kind of thing. So they can take the grand tour and see not just what goodies you've got from what you've rated or what you've found, this unique little object in the world, whatever, because they said they want to integrate that kind of thing. But on top of that, they can see your style, how you laid out because you can change everything, every little nook and cranny as far as plugs and sockets. You can really play with the lighting, the windows, the design, the stuff like that. Do you have a Granok house? Do you have a human style house? Do you have so on and so forth? And obviously the other things you have there, crafting, raid portals, things like that. So I mean, you get a lot of. You can go, look at my shiny, look at all my shiny and my design, and aren't I artistic? But also just the goodies that I have as well.
Yeah, it does sound like it's leaning a little bit more towards how Rift did player housing. And I think the problem that Rift had with its player housing wasn't so much that the player housing in Rift was bad, because it was really good. Like the dimension system they came up with, it was really, really awesome. Like the Rift Dimension of the Week or whatever it was series that Gary was doing a while back. Some of those were pretty nuts, what people were actually able to do there. I think the problem that Rift had with its player housing was that it was in Rift. Like, it's a game that not enough people were really playing anymore at the time for it to really take off. With a new game coming out that has player housing in it at launch, that's the sort of environment that I think you really need for people to start to build those communities to begin with and say, okay, no, look, this is cool. We've got our guild area or whatever. We've got our area where all of our people can put their houses together, and we can show off all of our awesome stuff and everything. I don't know. I'm really, really excited for it. I can't wait to get my hands on it and actually see what the game is like itself. It's looking very, very promising.
Yeah, I agree. Wildstar is it I've got to say, and I don't know how responsible Chris Hannell was for the video that got put out at PAX. But however much he was involved, props to him, because I was kind of a little bit on the fence. I was just like, oh, Wildstar, I'm aware of it and it looks interesting. Maybe I'll try it. But I literally watched that video and signed up for the beta the second that I was done. So that video did an amazing job of kind of, I think, not only building hype around it for people who maybe are already aware of it, but I think it did a really good job of roping the people that were maybe on the fence about it. So really cool things. I'm really excited to try it out myself. That's probably all the time we got for this questions, and we're gonna have to move on here. So, Rick, thank you so much for your call. Hey, Rick or Rich? I'm gonna remember one of these times.
Well, my name is Richard. I just don't respond.
Rich.
To Dick.
Okay, that's fine. I'll call you Rich. But
Okay,
thank you
that
so
works.
much, Rich. Thank you so much for the call. Please, 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 by all means, call in again. We appreciate your questions every single time, even when I'm a jerk. So, thanks so much, Rick.
All right.
All right. Next up here, let's go over to Twitter. Let's see here. Matthew Graywood wants to know what makes a user character name good? Do you go for role playing or favor Mr. XX YOLO swag 420 blaze itxx types?
How did you know my secret character name? How did you
We've
know
been
that
stalking you for a while, Josh.
That's the character I've been playing on Terra, which is secretly my favorite MMORPG of all time.
YOLO swag 420 blaze it.
Yeah, that identifies me as a person right to the core. Is whatever that combination of letters was. No, it's an interesting question. I've always found that I always enjoy the characters with names that are a little bit silly a lot more. Like my character's name in World of Warcraft, at least the one that everybody knows me for, is Lore, right? And that was a name that was a joke. It was before the Burning Crusade came out. The joke was Lore, LOL, because they went back, and that was like one of the first real major like retcons that Blizzard had ever done for the Warcraft universe. Was they went back and they changed like where the Eridar came from, where the Draenei came from. They changed all that stuff, so it became Lore, LOL. And then when they said that Blood Elves could be Paladins, I was like, well, that's what my Blood Elf Paladin name is going to be, is Lore, LOL. And then I decided I just wanted it to be Lore instead. And that's kind of like, that was the character that I fell in love with playing that character. I just always enjoy logging in and saying, hey, my name is Lore, more than I log in and, hey, my name is Gwen Vizenuf or something like that. Like the real like fantasy-ish, the realistic fantasy-ish names. I don't like those very much.
Your name kind of took on a life of its own. It started out, and obviously this is a extreme case, but it started out as a XX YOLO swag 420 blaze it XX kind of joke, but then it kind of took on a life of its own, and it's now a character and a name you feel attached to, right?
Yeah, well, and even if you look at my other character names, like Core, my warlock, is because I thought, well, I'm going to be a fire spec warlock, and then I can call myself the Molten Core, because that was a hilarious joke back in 2005. My first character, my warrior, named Sledge, he had a hammer, so I called him Sledge. Like, I've got things like Tycoon and Papoose and Clutch and all these not like all joke names, but all names that are a little bit silly. They don't really make sense. I would never call a person Clutch or anything like that. It's not something that I would ever call anybody. I wouldn't name my kids Clutch. But I like having the names that are just a little bit goofy, just a little bit weird. I feel like it gives the character a little bit more personality in my mind. And that's like, even in Anarchy Online, the character that I played in Anarchy Online, the one that I played for the longest, was a traitor named Traitor. That was his name, was Traitor. And I had a fixer named Fixer. And I spelled him funny because in order for it to work. But it was like PHICSER was my fixer's name. And I loved that character. The first character I played in Anarchy Online was named Floby. That's just how I've always been. I like the goofy names. I don't know. I like
Here's
them
the
to be
thing,
a little bit silly.
I think to embrace the good RP name, you have to kind of be under the idea and mindset that you're making an RP character. For you to make, Bilbo with Maximus, even though that's jokey, you have to kind of go in with that mindset that you're kind of trying to build a story for your character. You like to RP, and I think there are plenty of people out there that like playing the game that way, and that's their approach with it. My thing about it is I I now identify with my characters' names because I've used them for so long. Referencing back to Tibia, the first MMO I ever played, I remember I was sitting there just at a loss. I was trying to think of names. I was being completely unoriginal. I was like, Cloud! Oh, that's taken. Squall! Oh, that's taken too. Link! Oh, this is awful. And I seriously couldn't think of a name. And I'll never forget my sister's friend walks in. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm trying to come up with a name for my character for this game I'm trying to play. And he comes over to the keyboard and he just presses random letters and he comes up with Krelumian, Krelumian. Not the most, distinct name, not a jokey name, but a viable, unique name. And that has been a name that I have passed over into every MMO and every insert your name here except for Final Fantasies and Zeldas I've ever played. I just keep it because it's now kind of grown an identity all itself where that is a character of mine. That is a person that I play from world to world. And it's not just this kind of crazy random number, but it's not like I made it specifically for role-playing purposes. It's just I've played with that name for so long that it means something to me now. And same with the rogue character that I named, Alexithemia, was named after a song by Anberlin, and I just really like the name, and I was like, Alexithemia is a cool name, yet kind of unique. Like, mine kind of draw from my personal experiences, and I try and make them into names, and then I keep them for long periods of time. So, through multiple MMOs, I'll have multiple of the same characters, not only so that I can be found, but so that I can identify with them more. So
I do have one character with a serious name like that, a name that I try to keep relatively serious for role-playing purposes. I do have one character with a name like that. His name is Chopstick Chad. Very serious name for role-playing purposes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. He's a monk. Blood elf, male, monk, Chopstick Chad.
Chopstick. I thought you were saying chapstick. I was going to say, do his lips get chapped very often?
No. He's a monk, so he's kind of a little bit oriental in the sense, like chopsticks, but he's a monk. He's a blood elf, so he's Chad. He uplifts.
Makes sense. All right, let's open up the lines again and see what else we've got going on out there. So, caller, you're on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're from. Tell us your question.
Hi, it's Spacebar from chat room.
WA?
Yeah.
I don't want to hear any of your cheesecake comments, sir.
I was the one who called you out on your hatred for cheesecake, sir.
It's not my fault. It's not my fault that I don't like cheesecake. We're not doing this again. Moving on.
Speaking of cheesecake, I see.
Get out of here. Cheesecake. Get out of here. I saw someone mentioned in chat it would have been the perfect April Fool's Day joke to tweet out a picture of me eating cheesecake because you never would have known if it was real or fake.
Mm-hmm. Never would know if anyone's eating cheesecake.
And speaking of cake, do you guys prefer chocolate, vanilla, or marble?
Cheese.
Yellow.
Oh. Well, that's all I have because it was my birthday yesterday. So.
All right, so you want the most ultimate, most plain cake you could ever possibly get? Yellow cake, double layered, with white frosting on the outside and white frosting in the middle. It's amazing. And that's what I eat. That's what I've gotten for my birthday every single year. And I'll make it again. And I'll keep making it. It's amazing and plain.
I was gonna offer you my birthday cake, but if you don't want any, that's fine.
What'd you get? What kind of cake do you get?
Chocolate.
How much chocolate? Was it chocolate cake or chocolate icing?
Chocolate cake.
Get out of here. Get out of here. That's awful. That's too chocolatey. Too chocolatey.
Josh, do you want any or are you good?
I just had some cheesecake, so I'm good.
Josh is good. Is good. You know what I just realized? You had to have that cheesecake sitting on a plate waiting for the moment for you to pull it out. That was pre-planned. That wasn't like, oh, hey, we're talking about cheesecake. That's just convenient that I've got a piece of cheesecake on here. You were waiting for that to happen.
No.
For the record, I had nothing to do with what he had, so that's all on him.
All right, was that all you had for us, WA?
Oh no, yeah, my questions. I saw this in the forum last week, and I wanted to ask this, but I won't take any credit for asking this. But whoever wrote it in, they deserve credit. With endings like Metroid and the legendary difficulty in Halo 4, would you ever want to see other games do that kind of special ending if you do certain criteria?
I love it. I love those.
Yeah, go ahead.
Those are great. Like the most recent one that I actually was trying to achieve and got just absolutely sick of it because it was already online was the Kingdom Hearts ending. I love secret endings, and I love secret endings where they don't tell you anything. Like in God of War, there's a specific statue, and I don't remember. I think it's God of War 3, where if you attack the statue for like 10 minutes, the statue would break, leaving you a phone number to call, and Kratos himself would talk to you. And like that kind of like hidden special Easter egg that's not like, I love making a game last because there's more to it that you haven't been told and leaving secrets. It's great. I love it. Give me more, please. Make me hate myself because I have to do this on the hardest difficulty to get a reward. I'll do it every time.
Yeah, and I think that's a good way to encourage people to actually play games on harder difficulties and get a little bit more longevity out of a game. It's not like you don't get the ending if you play the game otherwise. But
Don't
things
pull a
like,
Mass
oh, well, you got
Effect.
it. let's not go there. But things like, well, okay, we can talk Mass Effect 1 and 2. Mass Effect 3's ending, I think, was horribly botched. But like Mass Effect 1, for example, things changed. Like the ending would turn out differently based on choices that you made earlier on in the series, or choices that you made later on in the series. Like you would choose who, like, does the council live or die? Who ends up taking over as the leader for the humans and everything? Like you had all these different interesting different choices you could make that led to different endings, and that gives a lot of replay value. Or things like, well, you get a different ending if you go with 100% complete on a game or something like that. Or, you know, the more typical stuff like, you know, older titles where it's, well, the more difficult the game was when you beat it, the higher the difficulty setting, you would get a better ending each time. Even things like way back to Sonic the Hedgehog, you would get a different ending if you collected all the Chaos Emeralds. So, I don't know, I think stuff like that is cool. I think it's great to have different endings like that. I don't think that, like, I think one of the major things that video games have going for them in terms of a storytelling medium, if you're talking about video games as an art form at all, using them as a medium for storytelling, is it kind of needs to be a two-way thing. That's what really differentiates playing a video game from, and getting the story out of a video game, from getting a story out of something like a book or a movie or something like that, is that two-part interaction where the creator of the video game has set out several possibilities, and the person playing the game then will determine what their individual story ends up being, what their story arc is. I think that is the sort of thing when you can really look at a video game and say, yes, this is a form of art. This is like the Mass Effect series. This is a form of art. Where like maybe the last one was a little bit less, I don't know, Van Gogh, a little bit more Picasso, but it was still a form of art where you went through it and you got a different story based on what was going on.
Gosh,
I think that's really the when video games are their best for storytelling, is when it's something that the player it feels like they were involved in the storytelling as well.
And it does, and as you said, it does such great things for the longevity of the game, not only in terms of the replayability, but in the marketing. One of the games that I remember that really caused a lot of buzz because of this was Chrono Trigger, where you could end the game really early on, or you could see it all the way to the end. You could create a different ending, but the experiences that you would go to school with and tell your friends about and start talking about would make you want to go in and re-explore what, you know, well, why did that happen for you? Or like everything else. What were you about to say there, though, WA?
No, I agree. I forgot about Chrono Trigger. They had the multiple endings, and I completely forgot about that because I played that all the way through when I was still playing on my Super Nintendo. My second question is for Lore. I know he wanted a StarCraft 2 question.
Well, hang on. Before we move on to the StarCraft 2 question, because I want to throw this back out to all of you guys. You know, you asked if we like that. What's some of the best rewards or payouts we've ever seen for something like that? Do you guys have anything that really stands out in your mind of like, you sat around and you played the game and you got this special ending and it was so satisfying or so disappointing even that like what stands out in your guys' mind based on your video game experiences?
Things like in Mass Effect 2, where depending on how you played the game out, who you sent where and everything, how many different people you went through, like, you basically had to 100% complete the game to do it. But the everyone lives ending in Mass Effect 2, where none of your crew members die at all, nobody gets left behind, nothing like that. That was a really, really great experience for me. I really enjoyed that because you get to the end and you feel like, yes, I've played this single player game really well. I felt like I was really good at the game for having been able to do all of that. That was the sort of thing that I liked a lot. Nobody dies. Awesome. Fantastic. This is a good ending. And then people like my wife, who is sadistic, had to go through and play the game to try and kill everybody because that was her goal with Mass Effect 2. She did the whole save everybody thing, but then she was like, no, I need to play this again because all these guys need to die. Everyone has to die now.
Do you guys feel, sorry, and I'm derailing this already, but do you guys feel like the mystery of the secret ending or the secret things are gone? And this is what I was thinking about when you said this is, and I was going to joke about it, I was going to be like, my favorite, payoff was playing through the Ocarina of Time and getting the Triforce. And then I was like, well, wait a second. I beat that game and I literally replayed that game probably 5 or 6 times, trying all these different theories out and all these small little tests because I thought there was an extra or secret way to get the Triforce that kept me playing. Like, now that we have games that are so spelled out and go down a specific path and we feel completed after we're done and over with, could that be playing into the relatively like short lifespan of games nowadays?
I don't know how much of it is really to like the game's fault. Because when you think about it, like, I don't know, I guess you're probably talking about like 2 or 3 years ago when you were a kid playing video games. But when I was a kid playing video games, we didn't really have the internet. Like, that wasn't really a thing. I mean, we had internet access by the time I was about like, what, I would have been like 14 or something like that, was when we first got 56K. Yeah, I'm old. But anyway, right there with you, man. But no, like, when I was a kid playing video games, it was all about like, oh, other like my friends, like somebody I knew saw a Nintendo Power once, and they said, oh, this is what it says. This is how you could do this thing. And we had all these little different theories. So a lot of the trying out different theories to get stuff, it wasn't because we weren't able to go look it up online, or we could, but it was a huge pain. We never really thought of that. We weren't spending all day on the internet at that point. So it was more like
Nintendo Power caused those problems just as much as the internet, because Nintendo Power was the one that released the screenshot of Mario 64 with Luigi in the front, and that's what made everybody think that Luigi was a unlockable character in Mario 64 when he was never there. But that kept people playing, looking for the smallest cracks and crevices of how to unlock Luigi.
Yeah, well, and the thing is, like, back then, if Nintendo Power, like, nowadays, if Nintendo Power were to put out a screenshot that says, here's this character and it looks like he's playable, people will just look that up online. Someone else will figure it out. There's going to be very, very few people who will actually go through all the trouble of trying to find the secret way to actually do this. It's because we have this ability to communicate so constantly and frequently, and because more and more people are doing it nowadays, there's a lot less of the, well, I guess I just sort of need to try and figure out if that can even exist anymore.
I hate
this is impossible.
I hate this day and age, because you're right. I hate it. I'm a culprit of it, because I mentioned the Kingdom Hearts thing, and I remember even when I was going through the first time, like, I heard this thing about a secret ending in Kingdom Hearts 2 of teasing Birth by Sleep. And it got to a point where I just got so sick of failing the test, and I was like, this is hard. I don't want to spend any more time. I just want to see the ending. And I went on YouTube and looked at it. And then I was done. And then I put the game down and never went back to it again because I was satisfied and I unlocked it. So I agree with you. Forget the internet. I hate you. I'm kidding, internet. I love you.
I remember there was a rumor that, and this was like Metal Gear Solid 1 on the PS1, that if you beat the game under 3.5 hours, there is a secret big boss ending. And I spent all this time looking. I read through this guide I had, and I memorized the whole thing from page to page, and I played it 3 hours straight. and I still couldn't get close to 3.5 hours. The closest I got was about 3 hours and 46 minutes.
Hmm.
It took me like 3 weeks just to get that whole guide memorized. Like, fuck, I hate you, magazine. I want to throw you out.
It's just ridiculous. I wish, gosh, you struck such nostalgia in me of the heyday of me like and secret endings, and I love it. In a nutshell, I love it, and I love your question. All right, you had a StarCraft question related for lore.
Okay, I'm gonna probably get a lot of hate from Josh from this because I haven't finished Wings of Liberty, and I haven't even opened up my collector's edition of Heart of the Swarm yet. Sorry, work has gotten in the way. The endings for Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm, did you think there should have been more to it, or was it enough to? It was enough to say like, okay, there's enough ending in Wings of Liberty that I can be okay with it until Heart of the Swarm comes out. And then when Heart of the Swarm came out and you finished the game, do you think there should have been a bit more to that ending leading up to Legacy of the Void, or were you satisfied with that ending all around?
I think to a very large degree, it's always important to remember that if an ending feels like everything is wrapped up and you're done after an ending, then the game probably dragged on too long. You always want people, like a real mark of a good game, I think, is when the game is over, ending credits are rolling, and you're going, man, I wish I was still playing this game. Right? You don't want to be bored of the game by the time the ending comes around. So to an extent, I think that's probably part of it. I felt like there could have been a little bit more closure to a couple things in both Wings of Liberty and Heart of the Swarm, but I still felt like they had good, like, especially knowing that there are future chapters coming. I felt like they wrapped things up enough in terms of storyline. Like the couple of things, there is quite a bit of closure that happens at the end of Heart of the Swarm. People always say, well, no, but it leads into Legacy of the Void, so there's no, yeah, but you're ignoring a whole bunch of other stuff when you say that. So I don't know. I think that they were good. I liked the stories in both of them so far. I liked the storyline in both of them. I feel like Heart of the Swarm did a little bit better storytelling in some aspects, but a little bit worse in others. And I'm looking forward to Legacy of the Void, and I guess that's probably the biggest compliment I can give the storytelling, is that after I've played Wings of Liberty, after I've played Heart of the Swarm, I still want more. I still want to go in and see what the Protoss have been up to. I want to know what's going on over on that side of the universe. I'm looking forward to the final chapter of the StarCraft II trilogy. I think that's an important thing to remember when you look at stuff like that.
All right, we're going to move on just because we've been on that question for a good 20-25 minutes. Real quick before we go to another caller, one Twitter question. Robert Tinor wants to know, are you guys surprised no one has released Super Busy Hospital? Rescue Toon shot 57 times in the head in other games?
I like video games, but they're very violent. I want to design a video game in which you have to take care of all the people who've been shot in the other games. Hey man, what are you playing? Super Busy Hospital?
Why hasn't it been made? That joke came out, well, it was published 2013. I remember that joke years ago. Why can't I play it? Wait, couldn't you classify Surgeon Simulator or whatever it was, the WASD surgeon thing? That's Super Busy Hospital.
That's more like
that's Super Busy Kill Everyone.
Super inept hospital is what that is. How do I surgery?
Just rip those bones right out. All right, let's open up the caller. We got another guy on the line. Caller, you're on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're from. Tell us your question.
Hello.
Hello.
Hi, I am Luke. I'm from Virginia Beach, and my question was, if you could get all of your close group of friends together on one game to play like regularly on a regular basis, just any multiplayer game, which game would you want to get all your friends onto?
It's so tough.
If we're saying all of my friends playing together in one game, then it would have to be like something massive like World of Warcraft, because I have more than like 5 friends, so like something like League of Legends would be hard for me to say as an answer to that.
40 on 40 League of Legends. You didn't hear about that yesterday? No.
But anyway, no, I have no idea what you're talking about.
It was April Fool's Day.
Oh, okay. I saw the Cho'Gath eats the world thing. That was pretty awesome. But I didn't see
that.
That was so amazing. I played that.
But yeah, no, I think if there was one game that I could get everybody playing. No, honestly, I'd have to say World of Warcraft. If I could get all of my friends, because that was a lot of the friends that I have now, like a lot of the people that I hang out with nowadays are people that either currently play World of Warcraft with me or have played World of Warcraft with me at some point, and those are some of my fondest memories of playing a game with other people, is playing World of Warcraft with these guys. It helps that, I've been playing WoW for 8 years, almost 9 years now, but yeah, no, I think I would say World of Warcraft. I would get everybody playing WoW, and it would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I mean, I've kind of got. I don't want to just. I don't want to echo your answer because I kind of share the same sentiment of a lot of the people that I associate, like my group of friends that play video games. The most fondest memories I have are obviously in World of Warcraft. That being said, though, I mean, I think there's other games out there that still classify, and I don't think that's what Josh was necessarily not saying. But again, it's tough to say because, again, like Josh reiterated, League of Legends is a 5-on-5 kind of situation. Even if I was to go the route of being like, oh, Call of Duty, let's all play shooters together because I'm a masochist and hate myself. I don't think, I don't get that same kind of feeling playing. I've never received that same kind of feeling with playing with a bunch of my friends and felt so connected to absolute strangers than I ever have than playing World of Warcraft. So I think it would have to be either WoW or a game very similar to WoW.
And I guess that's kind of why I have a little bit of trouble with this question is when I think about it, it's the social interaction that makes it fun for me. We could be playing Torchlight 2 or Diablo, or we could be playing, I don't know, like Pretty Poly Dress Up or something. It doesn't matter. Like, to me, it's the social interaction that makes it fun. The game is just there to give us an excuse to do something together. That's all it has to. The game just has to be something functional for us to even play it. It could be Blacklight Retribution. I could have a lot of fun playing with my friends because it's doing something with my friends is what the fun part of that is. It does the game doesn't even matter to me at that point. I've had we used to play Left 4 Dead a whole lot. That was a ton of fun. We played a game called The Ship a lot. That game was weird and very glitchy and kind of bad, but also a ton of fun because I was playing it with my friends. So to me, it's more a question of what game would function for creating that sort of environment. And there's a ton of games that can do that. So it's almost, I don't know, I guess the question just seems kind of weird to me in that sense because I just kind of don't care what game I'm playing if I'm having fun hanging out with my friends.
And I mean, I think I think the reason why we both kind of defaulted to an MMO is because when you play something like Left 4 Dead, you're getting on with a singular objective and you continue to play that repetitive objective, or League of Legends, you're playing those matches. But MMOs, and this is I'm sure why I'm so drawn to them is because there's always something going on somewhere with someone. You can always make something happen somehow, some way, just to have fun with your friends. Might not be the most profitable or the most reasonable thing to do, but you can always kind of make time doing something fun. And that's why I think MMOs in general are such a great way to enjoy playing with massive groups of people, that I think that they were an immediate go-to for both you and I. What about you, though? I mean, you kind of brought this question to us. We failed at giving you very similar answers. Do you have anything that maybe varies?
No, it would still be an MMO. I would say RuneScape for the sake of that was my first MMO. I had great memories on that one. But I'm a lot like Josh was saying. I hold the same philosophy that as long as you and your friends are playing the same thing together, it doesn't really matter what it is. And I just kind of wanted to take a step away from that and say, well, if you could choose whatever it was, then what would you choose? And even if it was just like your 3 or 4 closest friends, what experience would you all want to have together? Even though it doesn't really matter since you're together.
Gosh, nothing. I think nothing for me has ever beaten an MMO. I fondly look back on it.
My answer would be if I could choose, I wouldn't. I would rather be able to jump around between different games and just do fun. Like we'll play Cards Against Humanity sometimes. It's like we'll just do all sorts of different stuff because variety is the spice of life, as it were. So, yeah.
All right, man. Thank you so much for your question. We're gonna keep this show rolling and move on. But thank you so much for calling. And please, I'm pretty sure this is the first time you've called. If it is, and if it isn't, feel free to call in again next week. We really appreciate it.
Thank you. It was my first time. My pleasure.
Excellent. Thanks. Glad to pop your cherry. All right, moving on.
Wow.
This question coming in from one of my favorite correspondents, Zista.
Oh,
How do you
dear.
justify playing Alliance? Horde is clearly better. This is going to start a fight between Josh and I right now. You do understand that, right? How do I justify playing Alliance? I personally agree with you that Horde has a better community of players. I have two reasons as to why I play Alliance. One, as we were just talking about with the previous question, community makes all the world. When I started playing World of Warcraft and when I played all the way through the beginning of Cataclysm, all of my friends that I knew prior played Alliance. I had no reason to want to go Horde because everybody that I wanted to play with was Alliance. So I chose Alliance. The second reason is because I play a Feral Druid and I refuse to play anything but a Night Elf Feral Druid because Shadow Meld is overpowered. Plain and simple. Try and gank me out in the wilderness, Shadow Meld Flight Form. Playing arenas, need to re-stealth, Shadow Meld Stealth. It's the best racial for PvP purposes, and I enjoy PvP. Thus, I play Alliance. Still, even now when my friends aren't playing. Josh, do you have
use
it?
Shadow Meld to get an extra potion in on like a raid boss?
No, because you won't drop combat.
Oh.
I've never...
Well, it lets,
No,
but it lets you re-stealth and fight form and stuff, doesn't it?
Well, that's because you're out in the wilderness.
Oh, it doesn't drop combat in raids.
I don't think it
See, I
drops
don't know,
combat in raid
because I
because
don't
the
play
raid encounter
stupid
is raid wide, if I recall. And here's the
okay.
other thing. Here's the other thing, especially because they took away my stupid multi-cyclone awesome ability because I can only do it once now every 30 seconds. Cyclone is a 6-7 second duration. I haven't tested it since the new changes because I haven't been PvPing as much as I have in the past. But the first Cyclone is long enough to drop combat and re-stealth. Now that I can't keep cycloning you over and over again, I'm going to need that Shadow Meld to get back in stealth so I can put up another series of bleeds. Again, it's a matter of the same way that people look and analyze, I need, what do trolls get? Trolls get Berserk, if I'm not mistaken, right? Like, that would be the way if I was strictly a PvE player to take the extra damage. But compared to the War Stomp versus the Shadow Meld, I'll take the re-stealth over a very short stun any day of the week. Is that fair? Is it fair? Can I at least justify to play Alliance there, Josh? Or am I just being...
No.
No? I should
There
just
really
go Horde?
isn't any justification for that, no.
All right.
You've just made the wrong choice.
The wrong choice indeed. All right, we got another caller on the line. Let's open up these calls again. Caller, you're on the line with Gamebreaker After Dark. Tell us your name. Tell us where you're from. Tell us your question.
Good evening, gentlemen. My name is Mark, and I'm calling from Reno, Nevada.
You have a very radio voice.
Oh, thank you.
Very
I'm one of the more
presenting.
mature. I'm one of the more mature WoW players, meaning I'm
But-
old.
But-
You're laughing. You're not mature, so don't pretend.
Yeah. Okay.
Point disproven.
Darn, you caught me. No, the reason that I'm calling is that I don't have a whole lot of time to play the game. I've been really enjoying the Pandaria now with the dailies, getting out and doing the different reputations and stuff. And I'm finding that as of late, WoW seems to be really focusing more on players like me that don't have a lot of time, but they're giving me access to old raids where I can go in, grab mounts that I couldn't get before. I'm definitely not a raider. I don't have the time and I don't have the skill to get in there and do those long combats and stuff. And it's been very nice the way that they're going. And I'd like to know, do you see this as a continual trend that they're heading for? Or is this just a one-time like glitch and they're going to go back towards raiding and gearing again?
I think it's awesome that you're able to say no. Yeah, no, they're putting out lots of content for me, because as a raider, I also feel like they're putting out lots of content for me. So that kind of seems to be what their goal is now, is saying, okay, we're not going to pick between one or the other. We'll just put out content for everybody. We'll just try and make sure that we have, let's get some content coming for the casual players. Let's get some content coming for the hardcore players. I definitely feel like, and it's been funny because I do the weekly, a couple of weekly question and answer shows just for WoW, PST and PST Rapid Fire. And I get lots of questions that come in that's along the lines of, why is Blizzard doing all this stuff just catering to casuals in this expansion? And then I get other questions that come in and people are like, why is Blizzard doing all this stuff that just caters to the hardcore players? And I'm like, no, that you see, you guys, they're actually doing
you're
both of
canceling
them.
each other.
Yeah, you have now successfully managed to nullify your own arguments. It is cool seeing the direction that they've decided to take in Mists of Pandaria. We do know that they have a lot more people actually on the team now, which is sort of allowing them to put out stuff like this. They basically, from the sounds of things, it sounds like they almost recruited a whole second development team just for the purposes of putting out the odd-numbered patches that have a little bit more casually geared content in them, things like the Brawlers Guild and so on. Stuff that's there for you to do just kind of when you feel like it. I think they probably leaned a little bit too hard towards over-rewarding the casual content at the start of the expansion, which is why a lot of the more hardcore players felt forced into it. But as of 5.2, that's not really the case anymore. I do really, really like where the game is at the moment, and I don't see a reason for them to stop doing what they're doing. So I imagine they probably will continue.
Let me throw this. Let me just throw this real quick right back out to you, because this is kind of how I feel as someone who went from a very hardcore attitude to kind of your situation where I have a lot more limited time. I still want to be involved in the game, and I enjoy and really respect the fact that Blizzard is allowing me to still feel like I'm connected, even though I can't spend the amount of time that I used to be able to. But coming off that mentality, I find myself incredibly overwhelmed because there's so much that I want to do, and then I get upset because I don't have the time to do it. Like, I'm sitting here, like I am probably one of the slowest people that's working towards my legendary right now, because I'm still trying to get my sigils. And it's like, okay, well, I've got to obviously go back to all my old raids, but now I've also got to do all my new raids. I've got to make sure I'm doing all my dailies for both old and new, like for 5.0 and 5.2. I'm now getting overwhelmed because I couldn't keep up. And I guess it's kind of my own fault, because I have fallen a little bit behind. But as the person who used to be that hardcore, like I want to do everything, I struggle to sit there and be like, oh, I'll just do this when I can, and then I feel like I'm not getting it all. Do you at all maybe sympathize with that at all, or are you kind of always the casual player?
I'm always the casual player, and what I found is that I just focus on one reputation at a time. So like I've got anglers done, I've got tillers done, I'm still working on Claxy, and I just now started Cloud Serpent. So it's, just whatever I can do for that day. If I can get them all, great, that's fine. If I can't, no big deal, I'll catch it tomorrow, because I'm at least seeing some kind of goal achieved. It's a small little bit, but at least it's a goal that I'm happy with. And that's why I'm enjoying this so much. And I'll tell you, with 5.3, just the new information that's coming out, I may even think about dabbling a little bit in PvP in the future, which I've never played PvP before, but just from the early stuff I've been seeing, it's awesome.
Blizzard's doing their job right then, if that's the case.
Oh, I believe it. I believe it.
Is that all you had for us, or?
That is. Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate it. Now I get to go to bed.
Nice. Well, thank you so much for calling in, staying up. We appreciate you calling in and give us your question. Please, by all means, if you got another question, feel free to come back another week. Thank you so much. All right, we got one last caller here. Real quick, I completely forgot to plug Netflix, so let's just do it right now. These last two questions are brought to you by Netflix. For a free 30-day trial, head on over to netflix.com/GameBreakerTV. You guys can get access to a whole bunch of really awesome shows, movies, and of course, my favorite, some anime. If you want to know what anime is on Netflix, go check out my 2 episodes of A-List that I made. It's really awesome. This coming in from Mike Ogslong. Lore, ever considered about balding?
No, not really.
Not at all.
If it happens, it happens. I'll shave my head and look awesome that way. What's up?
Soul glow. It does.
I'll be like the dude from Breaking Bad. Shave my
There
head.
you go.
Look
Rock
awesome
it.
anyway.
Exactly. Own it. Own it.
Yeah,
All right,
own it.
next up. Final question here for the evening. That's right. You guys thought we were going to miss him, but we're not. The one and only Eduardo. Eduardo's Corner. Do, 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 do. Eduardo, what's going on?
Hello, guys.
Yo, yo. We're
How
on
are you?
limited time. We are running out of time, but I wanted to make sure we got to you this week.
Oh, thank you.
So let's just get right into it and see what question you got for us.
Well, this is difficult for me because I'm about to share a part of my life that I am very ashamed of. You see, I suffer from a physiological dysfunction that doesn't allow me to experience some aspects of life.
Aspect ratio?
see,
Are you seeing in 4:3 and not 16:9?
Something related to that. Well, you see, I just got BioShock Infinite, and which is probably the best game of the year so far. But I can only play it for like 20 minutes, and then I have to take a break because I suffer from motion sickness, from like severe nauseating motion sickness. And I want to know if you know any remedies for motion sickness.
Well, I mean, obviously you could chug Dramamine every time you need to play Bioshock for a while, but that's probably a bad idea.
Overdose.
No,
Well, yes, but sorry. Well, a friend.
my wife is a
recommended-
EMT. She rides in ambulances all day, and she gets motion sickness from that. So she just takes a lot of Dramamine, and then every once in a while she starts to build up an immunity to it. So she has to like start taking something else instead. It's kind of silly, not really a great idea to have to take motion sickness medication all the time to deal with stuff like that. But yeah, you were gonna say something else?
Well, yes, a friend recommended Dramamine, but I know about the diminishing returns effect, and I don't want to depend on drugs to enjoy games.
Sure.
Yeah.
Have you
And,
tried?
well,
I mean,
tried-
something that I feel like there were two things that I remember that I've heard people talk about. Is one, obviously the rule. Gosh, what is it? It's like for every 30 minutes you're staring at a computer screen, you should take 3 minutes and stare at something 30 yards away. If I'm not mistaken, it's something like that. And that I don't know if that
I've
helps with
never
motion
once done that,
sickness.
but yeah.
That's supposedly supposed to help, obviously, with your mind and your eyes in general. So maybe something where we're getting up and taking breaks might help intermittent it. Or the other thing is, I forgot what the other thing
Well, and
is.
someone in the chat room had a suggestion of changing. I don't know if Bioshock. I haven't had a chance to play Bioshock yet, but I don't know if it has an option like this. But a lot of times, certain FOV settings, field of view settings, will give people more or less motion sickness than others. Sometimes, if it's like too tight in, you feel motion sickness from that. You can just play with the FOV. Again, I don't know if Bioshock has an option. Someone in the chat room is saying that it does. So maybe play with the field of view setting a little bit in Bioshock. See if that helps you out a little bit. And the other thing that I was going to suggest is I don't know if you've ever tried them, but something like Gunners. These are the eyeglasses that I wear when I'm doing my gaming for long periods of time because they look super stylish, but also because they do actually help with seeing things a little bit clearer on the screen. If you've ever had an opportunity to try something like that, might
I've
be something
tried
that helps out
Gunners.
as well.
I'm so skeptical about those. I
For
don't
me,
know.
the reason I wear them is
Incontrol
because they
uses
lower eye
them.
strain. That's the whole reason that I wear them. Is my eyes don't get strained as much when I've been wearing them. But that may be something that helps out as well. I haven't experienced it personally because I don't get motion sickness, but it could be something
Right.
that would help.
Yeah.
Well, and people ran into motion sickness. This is something that we ended up, kind of seeing a lot when Avatar came out because of the 3D, and people weren't necessarily used to what they were doing with the 3D in Avatar. And I wish I remembered how people dealt with it. But the thing that probably pops out in my mind is that a lot of them just had to walk out and regather. I mean, mini breaks. Especially if you're wanting to stay away from any diminishing return effect of any sort of drugs, which I applaud you for. It might just come down to you have to set mini breaks for yourself so that you're not so that you're kind of getting a little bit grounded back on what's kind of stable and what's not, because I'm assuming it's just because of all the motion and running and jumping that's going on in BioShock.
Yes, it's only in first person games. For example, when I was playing Portal, well, it was easy for me because I could take my time to stop and think about my next move in the puzzle.
Mm-hmm.
But in an active first person shooter like Call of Duty and all that stuff, I can't, because I get dizzy very fast.
There's a great Guardian series. He's not alone. Playing video game makes me sick. I tried to Google it and find you a quick answer. However, I could not. It also run at 60 FPS. Always gave me motion sickness. Some people are complaining about the FPS that it's running at. It's tough to tell, but again, I mean, I'm just gonna say I think the first thing you got to do is just maybe take some breaks every now and then. And no gamer ever wants to hear that ever.
Yeah. Well, chat room suggested the wristbands that they give you in airplanes for people who suffer from motion sickness. Well, they don't work for me. I have tried that.
You can get the motion sickness patches that you would wear if you go out on sea. I don't know if that's filled with dopamine though, or
It's
whatever.
probably Dramamine or something. Yeah.
Dramamine, dopamine,
No,
Dramamine.
dopamine is something that you don't want to take.
I mean, you could always just take up meth.
You know,
There you go.
I've been
Crystal
watching
meth.
too much Breaking Bad. All right, that's where I heard that term. Thank you because I was like, where did I get dopamine from? It was clearly Breaking Bad. All right, that does it.
No,
Eduardo,
dopamine is a neurotransmitter. It's a thing that your brain produces.
That's right.
When you produce too much of it, you get schizophrenia. When you don't produce any dopamine, you get Parkinson.
I didn't know that. And now you know. And knowing is half the battle. Eduardo, thank you so much. We got to cut it short here. We're running out of time, but thank you so much for your call. We always appreciate your calls. Be sure to call back next week. We got to get you on earlier. Earlier, my friend. Yeah. Josh, you can follow him right there at Josh Allen. Wait, clicking things is hard. You can follow him right there at Josh Allen. No, at Devilore. Troll face.
Somewhere. Just follow me.
Just follow him. Just do it. Just click on his face right now and that'll work. And you guys can follow me right here at Mike Schaffnitz. Thank you guys so much for watching. We appreciate you. Again, I can't stress this enough. I've thanked every caller. I at least try and make a point to everyone. Thank you so much for calling in. Thank you for your Twitter questions. The show can't happen without you. And if you guys haven't watched it live, be sure to try watching every Tuesday at 9:30 p.m. PDT. And be sure to check out Gamebreaker TV for all of your video game related news and shows and entertainment. Thank you guys so much. We'll see you next week.